Hello and happy Wisdom Wednesday. Thank you so much for tuning in and for choosing to spend some of your time with me. It's your girl, Milagros here. And during the month of February, if you have been following along or if you haven't, we are rooted in love. We're talking about love. The beginning half of the month, we talked really about self-love and personal responsibility. And then the second half of the month, we talked more about sharing love. So this is the last video of the month, and I want to continue this dialogue about sharing love, but I want to do it in a really simple way. Because the month is coming to an end, and because this theme of love is coming to an end for the month, it doesn't mean that the journey ends. It really is just either the beginning or the middle or the fun stuff of the journey, right? Because the journey does not end when it comes to self-love, self-care, and sharing love, unless we decide that it does. This is what I mean. There are times in our lives when we make decisions, and you know what I'm talking about, where you say, come hell or high water, this is going to happen. And then what happens? It happens. You figure it out. And as you go along, no matter what obstacle comes along, you're like, I got this, because come hell or high water, this is going to happen. And you have decided with everything in you that that is going to happen. That is how we have to be when it comes to being rooted in love. We have to be like, come hell or high water, and it's not going to be hell. It's going to become heaven and beaches, right? Like, no matter what comes, I have decided that I deserve to be rooted in love. I've decided that love is my natural state. I have decided to return to love. I have decided to love myself. I've decided to self-care. I have decided to self-love, and I have decided to love others from that place. Woo! When we decide like that, whether you journal, write it down, if you put it in your phone, maybe you write a couple of affirmations for yourself and you listen to them every single morning. But when we decide like that, life will start to move and align itself accordingly so that it comes to fruition, right? Because no matter what, I am going to love myself. What's the alternative? The depression, the anxiety, the stress, the comparisons, the competition? No, thank you. Been there, done that, got a souvenir, gave it back. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, thank you. That's the alternative. So we have to decide. Like, that's it. I'm going to decide every single day, day in and day out, from moment to moment, hour to hour, day to day. I have decided. I decide to self-love. I decide to self-care. I decide to share love. And then the more that we practice just that decision, the more that we start to hone our focus and we start to really pull into our own little sphere, right? The things that align with that decision to love. Like pulling it in. That's what's happening here. We have to decide. That's it. Just decide. Sometimes people make a decision and they feel like they have to create a whole plan. And listen, don't get me wrong. I love my list. I make a list every night for the next day. I love my list. I have a list for everything. But sometimes when we make a decision like this that feels so monumentous, it is just better, rather than trying to create an entire plan, it is just better to make the decision and just keep rooting ourselves in the decision and just keep declaring the decision and then let the rest of the stuff unfold in its own natural way, because the how is not your business. What is your business is what and why. I decide to love myself. I decide to self-love. I decide to self-care. Why? Because I deserve it from me, first and foremost. Because the alternative is exhausting and leads to depression. Because the alternative is unnecessary. I decide to love me. And I decide to share love. Because I know what it is not to feel love. So rather than sit over here whining and complaining that nobody loves me, I'm going to be love. And I'm going to go out into the world and I'm going to share love. And sometimes that's as simple as a smile to a stranger, or holding a door, or letting someone go in front of you in traffic. Sometimes it's just waving at another person, shaking, introducing yourself, right? Sometimes it's a little more intricate. Sometimes it's about assisting someone. Sometimes it's about really being intentional about creating community where you go, right? Sometimes it's a little more like that. But it could be just as simple as a smile. I'm going to choose to be love. I decide to be love. I have decided. And I'll tell you what, when I made that decision a couple of years ago and I said, I'm going to decide to love myself, it changed everything. When I said I'm going to decide to love others, woo, like holy moly, really, really everything changed. And I would love to say that it just like, boom, done, and it magically happened. No, that's not real. It evolves over time. But what was consistent was my decision, my decision, my decision, my decision. And now I can tell you honestly that I feel like walking love. Like, it sounds corny. I don't care. That's the truth, because I decided again and again and again. And no matter what came up, no matter what conditions or circumstance, I decided that this love and this love was going to be not conditional, right? I'm going to decide again and again and again. I decide that I'm love. I decide to be love. I decide to love myself. I decide to love others. We just have to decide. So that's what I have for you. That's it. As we wrap up this month of love, as we move into the rest of our lives, right? And everything really is about returning to that natural state of love. As we do that, just decide. Decide to love yourself. Don't worry about how that's going to work itself out, or just keep making the decision. When you feel yourself getting pulled away, remind yourself of your decision and just keep repeating it over and over. I decide to love myself. I decide to self-love. I decide to self-care. I decide to share love, because from that natural and beautiful place, I find ease and peace and expansion and like, right? And I deserve it, and you deserve it, and we deserve it. Just decide. That's it. And I have just decided that I love you. Well, I didn't just decide. I decided it a while ago. But there's nothing you can do about it. That's all I have for you. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like it, give it a thumbs up. If you know someone who can benefit from it, share it. If you haven't already, subscribe. What you waiting for? Share this with your people. Let's share love. Let's share love. Let's share love. Sorry, that was a little too enthusiastic. Actually, I'm not sorry. Sorry, not sorry. I hope you have a great rest of your weekend, and the beginning of next week and next month. It's going to be awesome. Next month, we're going to talk about happiness and ways to reconnect and root ourselves in happiness. And that's going to be fun and exciting. And, well, says me. And put in the comments below, I decide. Like, make your declaration statement in the comments below. Stop being so afraid, right? It's Fearless 2020, y'all. Put it in the comments below. Say, I decide to love myself. This is a safe space to do that, and put it out into the universe. Put it literally onto the World Wide Web, and let us all hold each other accountable to love. That's not a bad thing. Let's hold each other accountable to love, y'all. That's all I got. Enjoy your day and your week and your Peace.